the 9/11 ceremony at 9:14.
That's really clear.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
That's taken right off the camera. I've got an 8x10 of it.
Good evening and welcome to the September 18th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. This is a special meeting beginning 30 minutes early, so we have an opportunity to see a presentation by Wayne Kurlander, the Assistant Superintendent of the Hyde Park Central School District regarding district signage. But first, please join me as we salute the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Kurlander, for coming up. It's a pleasure to see you, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to take this opportunity to come in front of the planning board tonight to present to you the district's work on a unified district-wide sign project. To my right here is Elliot Garcia. He's the district's facilities and operations director and started with us in January and got on board with this project right away. So he's been heavily involved. So in December of 2007, Hyde Park Central School District went out for a capital project vote, which included a district-wide sign project. The premise was to unify our district, make it visible, give it a kind of a vision. The goals of this project were to unify the district's building signs in design and color. Right now, if you go around the district, each building has a different sign. So we wanted to get a good color scheme to assist in identification of our buildings. And then certainly all the work that goes on in this town to move the beautification in Hyde Park so that we kind of fit into the goal and the scheme of the area. And then certainly align ourselves with the overall design and aesthetic of the Hyde Park community. Being intimately involved with the community at large, we felt it was best to personally give this a touch. We tried working initially with our experts. They didn't quite take to what we wanted to accomplish, so we just took it on personally and did that. In order to gain this unified vision of the project, the Hyde Park Visual Environment Committee was invited to several of the district's facility steering forum meetings where initial design concepts and different things were discussed and agreed upon. So in order to achieve this professional design and renderings of the collective vision, we hired a local firm to come and work with us and come up with a formal design spec. Together we spent over a year building the best possible design for the district and community. And the following things were considered: certainly the design and shape and color scheme, depending on which location. Some are on like Route 9, others are within the school property itself. We had to analyze that and take a look at what size was appropriate. The placement of where those signs went, the visual environment group was really helpful there with that, and the overall appearance that it would take on. So again, the Hyde Park Visual Environment Committee was regularly consulted with for feedback along the whole way, and it was a great partnership throughout the process. So we're just going to, without further ado, we're going to show you the designs that we came up with.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that the audience and my colleagues are both aware that being a taxing authority, the school district is not subject to our zoning. So when the idea of new signage first came up, I believe it was one of our camera operators from the media committee, Barbara Sweet, alerted the Visual Environment Committee to say, is there a way that we can bring some community input into this? And you guys jumped on the bandwagon there, and I know from talking to Hillary and Monica, the chair and vice chair, they appreciated all the input you gave them. And part of the reason that they're doing this presentation tonight to us is that they were also looking to, even though they didn't have to, keep a lot of what our requirements are on the sign code and bring those forward so that, as we all know, people wouldn't be pointing saying, how come they can do that and we can't? So this is a nice process of collaboration that you're seeing tonight. Thank you.
All right, so the first one is the FDR sign. This is one that will have a digital display. There's a lot of information that will be helpful for parents and community. This sits, as you see, on 9G, where the existing sign is. It's a little bit bigger than the last sign. And on the left-hand side is the specifications of what we built. And again, these were all architect spec'd, and we'll work with our architect to get that out to bid very soon. So as you see, the logo that we used is the one that we're trying to instill in the district. It's the presidential seal. It looks real nice. I think we spent a lot of time figuring out the font and the font color and the appropriate colors. Probably went through like 75 color palettes, and you'll notice on the bottom of the historic buildings there's a stone base, which adds to the charm and overall.
Quick question on that one. Is that the same size base as you currently have?
It's larger.
Are you aware that DEC just put a park right there?
Yeah, I did see that. There was something that went behind there, but it shouldn't.
Well, it's to the left side of it and behind it. So you may want to just update and make sure how it fits in relation to the DEC. I was surprised last week when that showed up. I had no information that they were putting a
I'd like to
mini
just-
park there.
I want to bring up something here. I'm actually in contact with the Assemblywoman Dee Dee Barrett over this. It's not a complaint, but the supervisor contacted me and said, "Did you know about it?" to the planning board, and I said, "No." I said, "Did you know about it?" DEC contacted neither the school nor the town in any way. They put in, it's a little fishing access area, but.
Well, and it has signage,
Yep.
okay,
It
that
may-
may or
it's
may
not
not,
signage.
maybe you can or can't even see their signage now. You have to work somehow or another overlay all this. As I say, I was surprised, just use the term shocked isn't correct, but, DEC owns the land in that whole area on both sides of the stream, okay? And that has to do with floodplain and that type of thing. So I'm not even sure your sign, whether it's legal on their property. So anyway, you just need to revisit that very, very, very quickly.
I
Thank you.
agree. Thanks. The next sign is the Haviland Middle School sign, and this one has a alternate for the digital display, but not necessarily going to be it, depending on how the pricing comes in. We're on a budget for the sign project, and we certainly put lots of alternates that I'll speak about as we go through. But this is, as you'll see, the difference between the FDR and Haviland is very, very similar. Again, we moved this based on some good feedback from the Visual Environment Group to a place, and you'll see that it's perpendicular to the building, so you can see the ongoing traffic, can see it from both directions, and they'll maintain the original sign they have up towards the building. But again, you'll see, so, all right, Netherwood Elementary School. This one is right on the road. You can see the existing one. We moved it over a little bit to the right. And the good part of this is that our sign designer from Riverwood Signs worked together with, the different agencies to ensure. So I'm sure that if I work with her, as you mentioned about FDR, we could find out what's going on with the DEC on that particular site at FDR. Here's the North Park Elementary sign. This one, we do have the alternate on. The top of the road is a very difficult area. It's in between the stream. So we're going to try to put a directional there. It'll be like a smaller sign. And again, that's an alternate. But their main sign, it does maintain the integrity. You'll notice that on the Netherwood sign and the North Park sign, we didn't do the stone because it's probably very expensive to do them all. So again, the lines, I feel look, in line with what we have going on in the town. So.
I wish that we had more signs like this going on throughout town. The peaked roof is really attractive. The location of the logo, the stone base, they're very pretty.
Yeah. This is a combined sign. Our properties on Smith Court is the Ralph R. Smith Elementary School and our transportation department. So you'll notice that that's a combined sign, and that will get, you see, it's hard to see, but on the bottom it says Transportation Department and then Ralph R. Smith up top. And this one is the next design that has the changeable reader board, and that's, again, for informational purposes, and again, trying to keep the lines of the other signs intact.
Can we go back to that one a second? Am I reading, or where's the traffic stop line? Is that going to obstruct driver's view looking north?
Again, our designer, Kate Heinz Schaefer, worked with the local to make sure that the spaces that we were putting it in.
Okay,
were-
so New York State DOT has signed off on location and size?
Yep.
I am a little concerned because I look at the size of that and I just question, are we going to be obstructing if somebody is coming out of there and trying to look northbound on the 9G? I can't tell.
Sorry, I believe that's why the sign is back set on the placement. If you look, the stop line is just around where that light pole is currently. So we would place the sign far enough that at least the car length could see around that corner and
Okay.
make the turn safely.
And also, that's the where all the buses go in and out, so I know that they were conferred with, and our transportation department was, to make sure that the sign was an appropriate size.
Well, I agree. I mean, a bus, as a driver, they're sitting about 3 feet higher than the average passenger car driver. So I'm just a little concerned about location on that. And hopefully DOT is totally in sync here.
If DOT isn't, you'll hear about it once it's up. Believe me.
All right, so this is our Violet Avenue sign, back to another historic building. This has the stone base. We did do two alternates. We did there's two different types. There's a stone board, and then there's the actual field stone. So depending on prices, we did do it both ways and alternates. It looked very similar, but hopefully we'll get the stone base price into our final biddings.
Are the logos of the elementary schools the same presidential seal, or is that just for the high school and the junior high?
Every single
I
one.
can't see. Okay.
Presidential. Good question. Then the district office. You can see where that sign is. And again, a small reader board. Probably have things like the board meetings and so on and so forth. And again, keeping with similar lines and an attractive placement.
Any illumination?
We have several different options with that. We're trying to go with a very low lit, something that's not like, in your face at all. The one that would definitely be the noisiest of signs would be the one with the reader board on it. That would have different animations and things, but there's options, because I asked the sign person that came, actually the LED guy that came to the high school and showed us what's available. That you could certainly turn it off at a certain time during the night, and you can put a very low lit and low dimmed message during times where you didn't need it on there. So everything we're trying to do is to try to keep it in line with what's going on in the town. We noticed there's not a lot of lights on at night, so it would be a very low lit. Maybe during a board meeting it might be a little bit brighter during that period of time, but certainly would be in line with what's going on in the town. So our next steps include the following. We have to finish the final specifications. We hope to go out to bid by the end of this month and begin our construction. So these signs will be coming, but we would definitely want to thank this group, the Town Planning Board, for giving us the opportunity to present tonight and share our ideas, and also a special thank you to those members at the Hyde Park Visual Environment Committee who were so gracious to attend our meetings, look at our plans, work with us, and their partnership and guidance throughout this process was great. So,
I'm just going to start comments, but we've already had a few. But I think you've done a really great job. I know that when I first heard about this, there were some comments that people sometimes didn't know that Netherwood was part of Hyde Park Central School District. And part of that might be because the signage was so disparate that there wasn't any unifying theme. And now wherever you go to, any particular school, you're going to know this is Hyde Park Central School District. I like your central logo, and something that we hear some disagreement about from time to time, but you chose dark background and white letters, which all my reading of every sign information manual that I find says that that's the most visually appealing and the most readable, to see white against dark rather than the opposite side. I'm not sure why other people go that way, but it makes these signs look not just unified, but very handsome, I guess I'll call it. So, Chris, you want to have any comments?
Again, I'll agree with Michael. I think this is a great addition to the school district with all the new sports facilities going in up at the high school. And, as you mentioned in your PowerPoint, the beautification movement that's kind of going on in the town right now. It's great to see other organizations jumping on board with that, and hopefully that'll spark, some more coming through to do similar, to what you guys did. So thank you.
great, thank you.
I really appreciate the job you did, and I think what I really appreciate is the fact that you really made an effort to do the sign unity, which is in our code, and when we talk with applicants and we try to explain what that means, I think you've really embraced it, and it does. It helps to identify just where you are in our town. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Ann.
I just want to say I agree with everything they've said, but I do urge you, you're dealing with 9 and 9G, make sure you go to DOT first, give them detailed how high, whatever, because you really don't want to have to move them after you put them in. And I'm going to throw out one other comment. At South Cross Road, someone who was a neighbor there, when she was talking to me about this last week, long before I moved there, apparently that land also has electric lines buried and utility lines that go to a big junction box. Just make sure you clawed all your bases there by Roosevelt.
I can speak to that. We did speak with various representatives of Central Hudson regarding not just powering the sign, but the existing utilities that are on that property and around that base. And in regards to the DEC area, it's all to the left of the sign as you're looking at it. And so our sign would basically occupy the space of the existing base and continue to the right towards the road within code. So we should be okay on that one as well.
Thanks, Art.
Mr. Murphy?
I agree with what they've said. I think they're very nice-looking signs they add to the public, and I would just urge you to keep the illumination down as possible because it makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah, but we did receive that feedback on several occasions that it would be a low lit, and I'll let Elliot speak to this because, you know, I told him when he got on board, I said, we don't want this to be flashy. I want it to be, you know, in sync with what's going on.
Yeah. As you can recall from the design, they are pitched tops on the signs, and that makes downlighting rather difficult.
You can't.
And so what we're looking at is in line with the town aesthetic and with our sign company was a low-lit, uplit LED type of a fixture on a timer or photo cell, whichever way we choose to control it. But again, to minimize electrical consumption and also focus the light exactly where it needs to be and not splash it, you know, in excess, which we'd have, you know, bleed through or cross illumination with other areas behind it.
Thank you.
I guess, once again, I agree with my colleagues regarding the unification of the signs throughout the district. When I first moved here, drove around and had to guess where schools were and who they belonged to, so this is a big improvement. I have a question about the high school reader sign.
Sure.
Is that going to be animated?
Yes, it will.
Okay, concern I have is as you're driving along and you have these flashy signs and things are being written and people are looking for people's names and you wind up with a distraction on a main road. And I'm really concerned that care is taken to make sure that whatever is up there and animated and all of that is not something that's going to distract adults as well as young drivers who might be looking for names and dates and scores.
Well, I will say that we probably won't put specific names on there. One of the grants that we got from, I think, Senator Saland this year was to put some TVs. We did a restructure of the auditorium and theater. So if you look up there, if you're ever over at FDR, they have 2 reader boards where they could put lots of names. So we'll most likely probably put detailed type stuff off. I mean, if it's a game, certainly probably put this group versus that group.
Sure. But I'm not to take up any more time, but the concept of signs that are animated or change, people will slow down and become distracted and wait for the whole sequence to go through until it starts again, and that could be an issue.
Yeah. I should mention, too, that there's going to be depending on how our bids come in, we have some money allocated in our track and field project for a sign above the entryway to the new stadium. And we're going to be utilizing the same concept with, you know, so it'll blend in real nice. But we're not there yet. We kind of saved that for last to see how the bids came in.
Just to conclude, I want to thank you again, and can you give us some information about when the new track is going to be dedicated or opened? Or?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, the 27th is a ribbon cutting ceremony. There'll be some real exciting things. If you're interested in learning more about the halftime show, which is, again, I think Congressman Gibson will be there to, you know, with the ceremony. Be lots of fun things. That starts at 5 p.m. and that's at the new stadium. And 6 p.m. there's more types of.
7 o'clock kickoff.
Is that September 27th?
September 27th, yeah, right at FDR. So
Which I believe is homecoming as well.
It's a homecoming game, yeah.
5 o'clock ribbon cutting, 7 p.m. kickoff.
I hope whoever's watching on television that you consider attending, because I've had the opportunity through working with the school district to see the facilities that's been going up, and it's a remarkable transformation. I know that they're still looking for some funding to do some additional things that were beyond the budget initially. But and that may take a little bit of time, but I think that the town feels, I hope the town feels like it's going in the right direction in terms of how we're getting prettier, attracting some more businesses, and now focusing on our schools and a better track system for the students who go there.
Also for the community as well, the track will be open both in the mornings and the evenings so that the community can come and utilize the...
For walking purposes, et cetera. So anyway, I will see you on the 27th. I have it down
Great.
at 5 p.m. And I think there's some surprises in store that night, from what I've been told, but we won't reveal them now.
That's right.
So again, thank you. When do you think the signs will go up, by the way? Sometime next year, or?
Most likely in the spring, depending on how the bids come in. We could get some of the bases in before the winter and then finish it up in the spring.
I will say one thing, this is your peak, the way some signs are lit as well is where you would have the base of the triangle. There's a way to get a small, thin bulb to go down. That's if you look at Hess down the way, or at the Hyde Park Mall, which is, people locally call it where Stop and Shop is. Both of those you'll see have pediments above, but they have the lighting done that way. I'm not sure if it's any cheaper or what, but it's the only advantage I can think of for you guys is that when there's a lot of snow during the winter and you want to see it still lit, you wouldn't have to shovel out from around the base because there'd be no snow occluding the light bulb. That's why they put them in the same way. And the light, working with your sign people, the light can be more uniform instead of creating hot spots, so to speak, which doing uplighting tends to create two hot spots and it shadows out. So I've learned all this only because of being on the planning board, believe me. But you might want to consider that as you go down the line. Anyway, thanks again. It was great to see you. And we'll hope that we'll have some more subdivisions ahead sooner or later so we can get maybe a school back open again.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 4-minute break and then come back at 7 when the regular meeting will start.
Oh, thank you very much.
Cars are going in and out of Hammersmith during zoning elections, and parents come and pick their kids up all the time. I mean, I'm there during the day at different times. It looks like it's not so far enough back to me, but DOT deal with that. We raised it. Yeah, we don't have any direct input.
No, I don't.
The DEC didn't even bother to tell the town or anybody that they were going to do this?
No, well, as far as I know, in fact, the neighbors, the first house in from there, Stephanie, last week, she said there's brand utility lines in there, both water and
Yeah, but those
there's
are,
a
those
whole
are all to
phone
the,
junction.
yeah, but those are all to the south and to the west.
You know where the utility lines
Oh,
are?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and when DEC was there, they had Central Hudson, everybody was out there and they were marking everything, and they built that whole area.
No, I was concerned about their sign base.
Well,
No,
and
they're-
whoever
no.
they hire legally has to do the hole before you dig anyway.
Yeah, even though they are taxing, even though they're a taxing authority and have
But
some
everything you're
jurisdiction, they
talking
still have to
about-
get approvals
all
from
I'm
everybody
trying to
else.
say is everything you're talking about.
I'll help you. Thank you.
Pretty
low.
Of where
Good to
they
see you.
are,
Okay.
and they just have a line running in.
Nice meeting, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you.
All right.
I'm going to get the
Thank
third
you.
chair. None of our consultants are here.
Hey, Michael, I got a question for you. Does that mean that the fire department really doesn't have to come to us for approval since the fire department taxing
You know when the fire
authority?
department came to us? Because when he had to do seeker, and they're not trained in it. I had this discussion with them at the very beginning. They don't have to go through us because they're required to go through seeker. None of them are trained in it. They decided to come through us.
Yeah, for the fire in the house.
Because, I mean, you know, water departments don't have to come through us.
No, the fire department does not have to.
come through us.
It does not.
And technically, I'm thinking about, you know, the fire department.
Who's that for?
As well as the libraries.
The fire department does not have to, no, there's the library.
Libraries and independent.
Fire department authority.
Are they on?
No.
Kind of blame them. I thought they were-
No, but I mean, it's intriguing that they got into all the Donnybrook about the sidewalks and all. They opened Pandora's box.
They probably wish.
I wasn't in the room. I don't know.
Another full house, huh?
Tonight's public hearing for the River Ridge.
Should we get with Victoria on River Ridge? Change the wording of that condition?
Who, me?
Uh-oh, you're in
What do I
trouble.
do now?
How you doing?
Goodness.
In other words, it expired in 2015.
I think if we do this right, we'll be home in time for, I'm not predicting, I'm just
Slowing down a little bit. We plow snow. We plow snow. Like we do a lot of like,
We may or may not still be on.
we do a lot of like,
Love it. I love
cleaning out
chunky
people's-
beads.
Shannon and I feel really strongly that this is a fine, because
Very nice. I will happily pursue them, peruse them, and
Anne's gonna start coming in
pay
all
you and
dazzled up.
buy them, but I'm very cheap. I can pay about $1 a piece.
I mean, it's working out, so we should make it as a conditional final approval.
And Ted's not going to be here.
Fine with me. Donna, is your thing open? Is it
Just
always
didn't
on
know.
start?
It's just all pretty stuff.
I'll just type it up.
Oh, I'd love to,
Okay.
yeah.
that was easy.
Cool.
Where's the button?
Here was the I started saving it. But it works.
Yeah? Cool. No.
We were just like touching base.
I know you do. We all do.
Okay, we're ready. Hey, we're ready. Yep. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 18th regular meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. We've already convened our meeting for a special one at the beginning, so this is just picking up after a break. The first item on our agenda is River Ridge. Applicants are seeking site plan approval for a community recreation center that was previously approved, just some minor modifications, so it's a site plan amendment. Making a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
As always, we'll start with our consultants. Any comments, Ms. Axelson? I'm just leaping in ahead of you guys, if you don't mind. You're welcome to come up, the applicants.
Only quickly, I saw Dutchess County's comments, and I just feel like there's enough slope and wooded area between the river, and there's not a visibility problem.
Thank you. Ms. Axelson is referring to the fact that our response from Dutchess County Planning today pointed out that we did not require visual simulations to ensure that it's not visible from the river. But anecdotally, from our own experience, we know that it's not. The applicants do not control the forest line that exists there now. In addition, the site is located at pretty much the base of the property. Given you said the slope, it's not really visible. I would also argue that the architecture is really attractive, and it's going to be better than what's there, which right now is kind of a lunar landscape. So it's not visible. It will be prettier, and it's not visible from 9. So I think we're satisfied there. Otherwise, it was just a matter of local concern. But thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, could I just add
Yes.
one thing, if you don't mind? I would also remind the board that it's the same building that was previously approved, essentially in the same location, moved over a few feet, so that was, submitted as part of a prior approval, so there's really no change
Correct.
to that building.
And we reaffirmed seeker already anyway, so visual impacts should be minimal. Thank you. Let me start then to my, just as a comment, Ms. Polidoro is back working on tinkering with the resolution for a moment, and Ms. Moss is not here tonight because it's Meet the Parents Night at school. Mr. Signa, any comments?
Yes, I do. First, once again, I want to thank Mr. Stein for the closeness with which he worked with the board in getting to this point in the plan. It's always appreciated. And I also noticed in our notes this week that we received several letters, a couple of letters from residents appealing to us to approve the project. And I see a lot of what I think are River Ridge folks here, and we've seen them for several meetings, and I applaud you guys for taking the night away from the Yankees losing another game to see this. But I did want to...
Not my fault.
If you came from Boston, I disagree. But anyway, I did want to make a comment regarding our role, because what I read in the letter and what I've heard insofar in some of the meetings we've had, the planning board is actually appointed. We aren't elected. And when we vote, we don't vote with discretion as, gee, we like that or we don't like that. Our goal is to assist the applicants like Mr. Stein in designing and in their building that's consistent with the goals, which is what I think we're hearing tonight and what we've heard for so many weeks now regarding the project. And we have to determine that it's consistent with the town's laws, that it's consistent with sound environmental conditions and practices. What it isn't is something for us to say at the end, oh, gee, I want it or I don't want it. So I know that when community residents speak, sometimes they get a sense of, well, we've got to get them on our side. We're on your side. We're not trying to become impediments. What we are trying to do is make sure that in whatever construction goes on in the town, it's done consistent, again, with our laws, again, with sound environmental practices, and to every extent possible, consistent with the dreams that the applicants have. So I just wanted to say that before people started saying, please vote for us, because it's a great idea. It is. We know that.
Thank you. That's a great summation of what we do up here. He's correct. We only try to administer the code. There isn't really any personal decision-making or vendettas or anything else that goes on. But there are a variety sometimes of hurdles to go through to make sure that what the applicant wants and what the town itself has decided it wants through its code. And then, in addition, as you said, proper environmental practices, et cetera, there can sometimes be a ways to go. But the applicants worked with us with our initial concern, which were just environmental. Past that, I think this has all been pretty trivial. And yes, we actually do have clients when we sit up here. I tell people, just as though your consultants work for you, we work for the current and future residents of the town. That's what we try to argue for the best planning best development we can get. Thank you, Mr. Signa. Mr. Murphy?
Well, I just wanted everybody, I mean, I'm happy that this is finally coming to fruition for everybody that's been there a short or long period of time. And my only concern is that you guys are happy and that's what you want, and and it seems to be. So I'm happy.
Thank you. Mr. Groninger?
I'm glad to see it's finally coming to fruition. It's been a long time coming.
Ms. Dexter?
I echo all of that with the addition of, I think this is also a great, what this particular point in time did was to bring together the entities of Winnicke and Scenic, Hudson, and our Recreation Department for the trails. And so I think finally the start of that, to complete it, will probably commence shortly. So thank you for bringing that forward also.
Mr. Oliver?
And again, thank you for being so flexible as you were, and I think this was great for you and the community is coming on new to the project and kind of having this milestone accomplishment to go on with everything else that's going to go on there. I think it's a great way to step into the project, and the way you went about it, working with the board, was great. And in addition, I think this is going to be huge to the community sales, which might spark some more development in the area. So thank you for everything you put into it.
Absolutely, and it's been a pleasure working with the board. And just as a side comment, if I can, the homeowners have been terrific. They've been extremely supportive, as you know. I really haven't seen too many of the letters or any letters that really have been given to the town, but I think it's out of a genuine desire for this community, which has really sat in its present conditions for just too long, a victim of the recession. And we are committed to building this as quickly as possible. If God willing, I'll be able to get this shovels in the ground immediately, and you'll start seeing this site to be improved, and hopefully it will not only aid in my sales effort, but the valuation for the homeowners here, and bring in some more terrific Hyde Park residents that can support the community as well. So I really just want to take a minute and thank all of the homeowners for their support throughout the entire effort. And go River Ridge, let's get this thing built.
Before I open it up for public comment, I just want to remind you that the conditions that have been added are all to CO, so that you could get started as quickly as possible. They're minor conditions, they shouldn't be hard. In addition, the other condition that does have to be met is payment of all fees and escrows before I can sign, so we have to ensure that there's enough escrow in there for work that's done tonight, et cetera. I believe there might be an escrow request out. I think I saw one. So just make sure that there's enough escrow to pay final bills, and I can sign away, and you can get your shovel in the ground.
There's, Mr. Chairman, just to, at that point, there was a request for a $1,200 check. That check was delivered to the town today by Federal Express.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was paid in advance.
Thank you.
Anything else I haven't touched on, I'll be sure.
No, you and I have been emailing. I find you very efficient to work with, so I figured that, I just didn't know that you'd been alerted to it, so.
Don is excellent.
You can say that again, believe us. Would anyone from the public like to come and comment about this application? If so, one of the gentlemen up here will have to remove his seat. But anyone want to comment? Please do. Mr. Stein, you have one of your residents who'd like to speak. I think you need to move a seat over.
Excuse me, sorry.
And ma'am, can you state your name and address for the record?
And just please make sure you speak directly into the microphone so we can hear you.
Karen Cosgrove, 42 Rolling Ridge Road. I'd really like to compliment Mr. Stein on his diligence and bringing this to fruition. It has been a long, hard fight. And I'm not a negative person. I just have one teensy little comment. I think it's very important for the children to have a play area where they feel accepted, and I think it would be an attribute to the entire community. And Mr. Stein has promised to work with us residents, and I hope that the town will be forthcoming in working with him to see if possibly there could be a relocation of some kind of a play area or a recreation area to go along with this project.
Just in light of that, we're always willing to work with applicants, I assure you. Mr. Stein can tell you.
Okay.
I personally delivered elevations over to the Department of Planning on Tuesday,
Okay.
and I'm not paid
Okay.
because elevations weren't submitted because they'd been submitted in the past, and we had a little mix-up and they didn't get over there, but that's considered incomplete if we don't have them, so I drove them over myself. That's how much I'm willing to help everybody in here.
Okay.
Having said that, the zoning administrator is not here this evening, but the play area was shown on the site, on this section of the site plan because it was part of a component of recreational complex. But if there's no structure, no fence, nothing else, you may not need to come back for site plan. I would suggest you discuss that with Tad, but typically we see areas for play if there's some sort of structure attached to it that requires a building permit. If not, it's just a lawn. I don't think that's going to require anything. And maybe we record it on a future site plan or something, but we'll work that out as we go along.
All right. Thank you
Thank you,
very
Ms.
much.
Cosgrove.
Okay.
Anyone else? Come on up. We know your name, you introduced us last time, but please state your name just for the record. Thank you.
So my name is Susan Spivak, and I live at 82 Hudson View Terrace at this complex, which we've been waiting for a very long time to see something other than just people moving in. And they're really, we're hoping for a lot more people to move in. Although I must say one thing, that the last 5 years have been a time when we've kind of connected as a group. We've become very close, the people that live at River Ridge. And so through this adversity, I think it's really brought us together at a time, at this time, I'm really happy to say that. Other than that, I'm just really excited to see the ground broken. We've had a lot of false starts and a lot of false promises. And Mr. Stein and his crew have really finally brought us to a place where we're actually going to have a home that will be hopefully as wonderful as it's planned. And I want to thank you all for finally getting to this place with us. Thank you.
Well, just to give you a brief bit of history, the elevations were submitted and maybe some changes back in January, and then it died. That is not our fault.
Yeah.
The former owner and the representative who had submitted them just didn't follow through. Then Mr. Stein, I guess there were some management and ownership changes, and Mr. Stein came back in June, and what we discovered was just that the original environmental review work had been done a really long time ago. And we just needed to update certain areas of it to make certain that we'll just go through it as saying things hadn't changed. And Mr. Stein immediately hired a wetland survey or delineator. They did a survey, everything was done. So, and we didn't want, in truth, we also didn't want you guys running afoul of the federal government or anybody else from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Right.
That had almost happened before. So I apologize it took as long as it did, but it won't take very long tonight, I assure you.
Well, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
if I can just
Of course.
add in, and this will hopefully be my final comments.
Here.
It's become apparent over the past, 5 or 6 months that we've been trying to get the rec center approved, the modified rec center recreational amenities approved, that, there was a lack of files, lack of materials that, we did not have as a subsequent sponsor, as a subsequent developer. So, nobody should be under the impression that there is any malcontents, any belligerence in anyone's part. There was just a lack of materials, and those materials had to be resurrected. We did have to, unfortunately, in this business, it does take a long time. Secret is a cumbersome process, but it wasn't from anybody's desire to stop or slow down a process. It's a process, and as frustrating as that process is for a small change, when the files are incomplete, you've got to complete the files. And I will say, absolutely, the board has been very cooperative moving this forward, and the chairman especially. I've never seen, a chairman take, an interest to literally run over an elevation that wasn't included to the county planning board. It's just unheard of. So I want to thank you guys for taking the efforts and, taking the interest in this. As I said before, the homeowners have been terrific. They're really entitled to get this moving. We as a new developer want to get it moving. I know the board shares that. I've been in plenty of meetings with board members and your consultants. It's all been, it's been a process, and it's frustrating because the documents weren't there that we had hoped were there. Some of the field work was different than we had been led to believe it was, but ultimately, it's the end of the day, and we're going to be able to build this thing and move forward and, really complete River Ridge in the way it was, redesigned, but, envisioned and approved by the board. So thank you.
Well, I sound like Chip and Dale again tonight, but thank you for your very flattering comments. I do want to point out also that while the process was lengthy, probably too lengthy for the residents, and I apologize you couldn't be swimming wearing your bikinis this year, the actual layout did change once we did you resurveyed for the wetland, and I think it's actually an improved design. I know it's going to be easier on you guys. So all that, in other words, it may take a long time to make the dish, but ultimately it's going to taste better at the end. So,
Well said.
any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, just one, that comment about the bikinis, there's nothing in our code about what you have to swim with, is there?
As long as we don't have to do a study on it.
Right. There being no further comment, Megan, a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who has this file?
I have this file. I'm just checking one thing. Did we update the drawings to reflect today's date?
Yes.
Marty, did you put a revision date?
Did I see something that,
On P2?
I just want to make sure that I think we have this correct here. It just says P2 is revised on 9/17.
Yes, we have the
Hold
revision.
on.
Okay, and the rest were as of 9/13.
That's
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
And in case the board hasn't had the opportunity to see it, Marty advised me that the sidewalk in front of the rec center was shifted back, so it's not in the right-of-way. Parking spaces are still obviously split, but the sidewalk, Marty, you have the sheet? So it's on the plan submission that you have, but just to let you know that the sidewalk is not in there.
Thank you. That changes the condition.
Creates a condition change, and that's a good thing. Okay. This is a long and complex one. I will skip over most of the whereases. The resolution to amend and approve site plan, River Ridge at Hyde Park Rec Center, AKA Maple Ridge, September 18th, 2013, resolution 57-02J. I'm going to read the first couple because it gets a little confusing. Okay, whereas the applicant, River Ridge Associates LLC, has submitted an amended site plan for the proposed rec center at the River Ridge Development Project located at 261 Hudson View Terrace. And whereas the project was originally approved under the name of Maple Ridge on November 22nd back in 2002, undergone several revisions, most recent of which was approved April 6, 2011. Okay, whereas, okay, I'm going to read the next couple because I think they are important. Whereas the applicant has decreased the amount of impervious surface from 31,200 square feet in the previously approved plan down to 22,700 square feet as currently proposed, and has included pervious pavers in the pool area, and whereas the proposed landscape plan is limited to a mix of native and non-invasive species to avoid impacts on the adjacent wetlands. And whereas on September 4th, 2013, the Planning Board, having already been designated as lead agency in a coordinated review of the project, reaffirmed its prior secret determination of non-significance, finding that the minor modifications to the location of the rec building would not result in any significant adverse environmental impact. And whereas a pedestrian access easement is located on the project site but does not transverse the recreation center parcel as determined by Terry, Bergenoff, Collins, and whereas any future site plan amendments shall include the location of the trail easement. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby approves the amended site plan for the Recreation Center as shown on plans entitled River Ridge at Hyde Park Rec Center, sheet CS1, P1, P3, P4, L1, D1, D2, D3, and D4, dated 5/20/2013 and last revised 9/13/13, and P2 was last revised on 9/17/13, the site plan set, and authorizes the chair or his authorized designee to affix his signature to the site plan set after compliance with the following conditions: payment of all fees in escrow, and revision of the plan set to include a detail depicting the area of parking, sidewalk, and curbing on the northern side of Hudson View Terrace located in the proposed town right-of-way, and B, to indicate that the town accepts dedication of Hudson View Terrace. Said area may be the subject of an easement and maintenance agreement between the applicant and the town.
Could I correct that just real quickly?
Yeah.
Number 2 needs to delete, should say A, to include a detail depicting the area of parking and curbing. Sidewalk should be deleted since it's now out of the right-of-way.
So it's parking
And curbing.
and curbing. Thank you. I was wondering if that was changing. Okay. Where are we now? Okay, be it further resolved that before a certificate of occupancy may be issued for the proposed improvements on the site plan set, the applicant shall, 1, submit an approvable form of an easement and maintenance agreement between the applicant and the town for the parking spaces and curbing located in the proposed town right-of-way, and 2, submit 1 copy of the site plan for the entire development, which includes the location of the trail easement for the town records. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to miss all the audience participation, see?
He doesn't have chocolate.
Come back. Don't forget us. Visit us again soon. We'll see you by the pool next year. Okay.
There's nobody else here. You owe me for cutting off. You owe me for cutting off.
The next item on the agenda is Hyde Park Heights. Applicants are seeking a site plan amendment for the replacement of a sewage treatment plant. Aha, you're here.
Inside it yet?
Since we haven't seen you before, despite all the hoopla, can you please state your names for the record?
Hold on, because no, I can't
Marcus Shantub, Director of Maintenance for Campson Corporation, a representative of HPHR.
We're going to have you wait for a moment. Even I can't hear you.
That makes no sense to.
If you don't mind, if you can stay and talk in the lobby, but we can't hear the applicants over the general jubilation. Okay, now can you state your name for the record?
Marcus Shantub, Director of Maintenance for Campson Corporation, a representative of HPHR LLC.
Thank you.
Carmela Conklin, I'm the regional manager for HP.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to add? We had a sort of discussion, a general discussion with the zoning administrator last time, so everyone's familiar. In essence, this is a very small change. You're adding a chimney. We already had our comments back from Dutchess County Planning, so what we plan to do tonight is just open the public hearing and then consider closing it and taking action if we don't hear anything new from the evening. I don't think we had any comments from Ms. Axelson, no comments from Ms. Polidoro on Hyde Park Heights. Any comments, Ms. Polidoro?
Oh, no, Ms. Knapp was just asked a question about the referral process on this one and why it wasn't referred out. And I was just explaining that it was probably because the only exterior change was limited to installation of a chimney.
In other words, it's below 2,000 square feet. It's an action that doesn't require seeker. So we referred under county plan, under 239M to county planning because we're required to. It's on a county road. But we already got the comments back today.
Right.
Ms. Eccleston, are you going to shut the doors? Thank you very much. I'll start from my right. Any comments, Mr. Oliver?
No comment.
Ms. Dexter?
Nope.
Mr. Groninger?
Nope.
Mr. Murphy?
No.
Mr. Signa?
No comment.
Did we already open the?
May I get a motion to open the public hearing? Oops. Second? I mean, is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Would anyone from the public like to speak?
We just weren't sure what this project was, so it's just adding a chimney.
No, actually, let me explain. They're adding a chimney to vent scents, I'll put it nicely, from an internal sewage treatment plant. And what the applicants did was they didn't come through us to do seeker or even to start a process of getting permitting, but they already got their permits from DEC and Department of Health, who have higher jurisdiction than we do. So that meant that if there's no other involved agency, the only thing that our role is to vote to approve it or not, based on whether it meets the code, and it meets the code in every way. Ms. Moss was actually wanting us to hold a public hearing, just in the event that maybe there might be residents or someone else concerned about the idea that there would be now a sewage treatment plant indoors, because the fan that will move the scent outside up the chimney is apparently, in her mind, it might make noise. So it was a way for residents, if they were interested. At the last meeting, I myself made the comment that if it's a failing septic system right now, they'd probably put up a little noise in order to have a working system again. And if they didn't like the noise, people would, of course, be free to leave. So we didn't refer this to the CAC because if you made comments about the distribution or where they send out the treated effluent into the crumb elbow there's nothing we could do about it because the DEC's already given them permission. So, yeah, so that's basically it. But otherwise, Mr. Signa had said, shouldn't we refer this? And we normally would have, but we didn't because any comments, like I said, it's all internal. The only thing you're going to see is a chimney, except for the distribution point where the effluent will be going into, and like that's already been approved. So,
Well,
thank you.
right, the only thing triggering site plan review is the exterior chimney.
Right, that's it, just the chimney. Otherwise, they could have done this on their own, but the change was enough. And like I said, Ms. Moss wanted us to be prudent and hold a public hearing just in case someone wanted to comment. So is there any member of the public who'd like to comment? May I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who has this file?
I do.
See, we work efficiently.
Resolution granting site plan amendment approval, Hyde Park Heights exterior pipe, resolution number 13-37. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby approves the site plan amendment for the Hyde Park Heights apartment complex entitled Submission to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and Town of Hyde Park wastewater treatment plant replacement prepared by BL Companies dated September 21st, 2012, last revised on June 20th, 2013, and authorizes the chair or his authorized designee to sign the site plan after satisfaction of the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees in escrow.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion carries unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
I presume you want to get started pretty quickly, too.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okey doke.
Very quickly.
The next,
Thank you.
the next item on the agenda is Dalbo and Viani. Applicants are seeking a minor subdivision. What they're really doing is just altering some lot lines in a previous subdivision, but just to remind the board, under our code, that is a minor subdivision. And Mr. Dalbo, welcome back. We haven't seen you in a while.
Thank you.
Interestingly, some of us up here consider you the king of the minor subdivision because you shepherded so many through so successfully, and now it's your own property that's involved.
Yes.
So let me turn the floor over to you, and you can discuss what you're proposing.
All right. Hopefully you can bear with me here. I have
We can.
basically, let me pull this out.
Or you might, if you want to try the handheld. that
That'd be
might
easier for you?
Oh, I didn't even know that was there. Thank you. Basically, what we're doing is adjusting the lot line between 3 different parcels.
A little further away.
Down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Originally, the parcels, original parcel 2 was 44.9 acres, parcel 3 was 5 acres, and parcel 6 was a little over 1 acre. And we revised those to the map you have in front of you now, which I don't have a large copy of, but parcel 2 is becoming 6 acres. Revised parcel 6 is 3 acres, more or less. And let's see if I can, I think that'll help, thank you. There we go. Revised parcel 3, now going to 40.
So in essence, the rear lot, the one that's located furthest to the north, is gaining a lot of acreage.
Exactly.
And the subject parcels are in Greenbelt, so even though this is just a lot line change, because our code treats it as a minor subdivision, he now has to account for the open space
Right.
on it. So in my own initial review and at our agenda meeting, the only sorts of issues that I saw really were in our code, open space is supposed to be contiguous as much as where possible, and there has to be some sort of conservation value to it. And I sent those over to Mr. Dalbo. To spare him the need to speak tonight, I'll say that he was looking to try to make it as he was saving this area because this is the area to the north, because it's contiguous to the National Park Service, to the Eleanor Roosevelt site. So it would be a larger contiguous, a larger open amount of open space now. And I asked him how he intended on keeping it open space, and it would be through deed restriction, as is allowed by the code. And I asked him to, maybe the board should consider, there's a bit of open space shown now at the very front of one of the lots, then there's some around a wetland area. And I just wanted the board to consider whether we thought that we should move this bit of open space back to the back to make that even a little bit bigger, or even over to this area. This area seems like a good area, even though it's not contiguous, because it's over a piece of the area that has conservation value to it. It's a wetland and upland area.
Right.
So, and this is a single house right now. If this lot is ever re-subdivided, because it could be, then we could take appropriate action to determine whether, if there's additional open space that was required, what it would have to be.
I don't think you're ever going to see another subdivision.
I don't either.
No.
Well, maybe not us, put it that way.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. The county has changed their site distance requirements now, and we're done.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you couldn't subdivide it further back
I don't
anyway?
think so.
Oh, wow.
I don't think so.
There's not another road you could access either in through here, right?
No,
Okay. Is it because you're so close to the intersection where Dorsey is, or?
because of a hill.
Oh,
Hill and a
right,
turn.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now what I did, today I played around a little bit. I took the open space that was on revised parcel 6 in the front that you weren't too keen about.
Well, it was like, there can't be much conservation value there, it's on a
Yeah.
road.
There actually is a little bit of a wet area there, but
Okay.
I decided to put it in the back to make that even bigger, if that will work for you.
It works for me. Mr. Sweet is telling me
Oh, back off the mic a little bit.
me, okay, sorry. I'm getting stage directions.
Okay.
It's not just, so I think it's just comports more with the code, but they're all minor issues. There's nothing
Yeah.
major to me here, so I think it would be better suited in the rear. Ms. Axelson?
The only thing that I wanted to suggest is, on some of the darker lines, it's a little hard to tell what is going to be ultimately a proposed lot line and what isn't. So, if you can maybe give a legend, because there are different line types.
Yeah, I
That would
can-
probably be helpful. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming where there are lines that say existing lot line, those are going to be dissolved or removed. The thin lines that you have on there that say existing lot line. I think most of them are to be removed, so.
Okay.
That would be my only suggestion. That would just make it a little clearer. So.
Add a legend for the lines, so you can see exactly
yeah,
what's
I mean, that
currently
really was it. I don't
approved.
have any issue with the proposed configuration, just to make it clearer for people reading the plat in the future.
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Polidoro, any comments?
When we do a deed restriction, we always require that the
Can you speak further into the microphone?
This map is so big. We're going to ask that the town have a third-party enforcement right to the deed restriction.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Is a deed restriction a requirement of the code?
No, it can be held.
Right, it can be a map note.
I think it could be a map note and a deed restriction, or conservation easement. We can work that out as you go forward, but generally a map note is not enough because you can come back and change the map note down the road.
I'll have to look.
Not without your approval, I can't.
Right, not without the planning board's approval.
I'll take a look at that.
I will too, to be honest with you. I had to bone up a little bit on subdivision law.
I think a map note is adequate.
I'll look
I've done
that
it
up.
before.
I mean, the other option, of course, is to have a third party hold a conservation
It
easement.
would be a map note and a deed restriction is what we would ask for, if you're going to go that route.
I'll look that up. Thank you, though.
The deed
Deed restriction
is
in
for
what
purchasers
form?
on notice, and the map note is for the town.
Yeah, the purchaser knows what he's in for here.
Okay, well, future purchasers, 20 years from now
Beyond then,
also.
Yeah,
This way it shows up in the title search. But we can work with you on the form of that.
okay.
Do you have, from way back when, do we have standard form that you could send to Mr. Dalbo?
We haven't done a subdivision here in so long, but I'm sure I can dig one up.
I haven't either.
I'm serious. I had to read it up going, when do we do the public hearing and when do we do seeker?
I
And
read it too.
My only other comment was that it was, without having an existing conditions map, it was difficult to read the lines to figure out how things were switching. Thank you. So maybe you just want to put like a inset with the existing lot lines on it.
we had to go back to pull it off the parcel access website to see where the original lines were. Liz, can you say that into the microphone for us?
I think I know that there's information here, land area adjustments. If it's possible to sort of take that information and stick it in a table, sort of a now and then kind of thing, like existing lot area, proposed lot area.
It's already there. Formerly 44.917 acres, adjusted to,
Oh, okay, I'm seeing, I'm
Liz,
sorry.
you're too close to the mic.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, never mind.
So a legend for the lines, and we'll figure out a deed restriction plus a map note down the line. Anything else?
That's it for me.
And a way to show a small inset that would show what the original approval was versus what's proposed? Okay. Mr. Signa, any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Groninger?
No comment.
Ms. Dexter?
Just one, good to see you back here, Mr. Dalbo.
It's good to be here.
Mr. Oliver?
No comments.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah.
If you want tonight, the board could classify it as unlisted. Start that process. I don't believe there's any involved agencies. You could do this as an uncoordinated review.
I believe there is no other involved agency. The only agency that would normally require it would be county, because it's on a county road, the entrance, but they don't see subdivisions by policy. So will a simple motion to classify it as an unlisted action satisfy you?
Does this need to go to DPW, though?
They're not proposing a change to the driveway,
Oh,
and they're not
okay.
proposing
It's
any new
existing.
housing.
Okay.
I mean, there's already a pre-approved house location, but there's no house there. But even then, this was approved with the idea that there would be 3 houses there, so there's not a traffic or anything else issue.
Yeah.
That I know of.
Nothing's changing with the common driveway, the easement, or anything.
Okay.
So what we would do is what I'd like to do is, instead of doing it by motion tonight, just have a resolution. I'm becoming like you, I'm more conservative on this. Just for the record.
That's fine.
I've kind of discovered why you want them in paper. What I'd like to do is schedule this, we can set a public hearing to start in 2 weeks,
do you
and we
just
could do the seeker first.
Is that October 2nd?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll miss the deadline. We can still use the short form, which is good.
Right, the new forms go into action on October 7th. So
Go to the next one.
No, let's go ahead and.
No, that's good.
No, no.
That's
That's
good.
good.
Let's.
Good.
Yes.
Forward.
Yes.
We'll talk about it.
So may I get a motion to set a public hearing on a minor subdivision for October 2nd?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll see you back in 2 weeks, and we will do our seeker at the beginning before we open the public hearing, as required by case law. And in the meantime, if you want to, I don't think there's a reason for you to submit another set of large maps. If you want to just do half size to show where the open space goes and the changes that were suggested tonight about adding the legend,
Yeah.
that seems fine to me. Everyone agree?
Can we just be clear on the open space? On revised parcel 6, are both of those open spaces being pushed to the back, or only the one?
Just the front one. But on revised parcel 2, the open space on the easterly side, out by itself,
Mm-hmm.
is also going to the back. So we're increasing the back to somewhere around 14 acres.
Well,
There's two open space there's 2 portions on 2 and 2 on 6, and
Right,
2 of them are next to each other on 2 and
right.
6.
The
Okay.
2 that are adjacent to each other are going to stay,
Okay.
and the other 2 are going to the rear.
And the board's comfortable with that?
well, it seems to me that satisfies the contiguous. In addition, all the training that many of us have had in biodiversity assessment, everyone will tell you that it's better to keep, if there's a parcel adjacent that's going to be kept open, like National Park Service, if you can put the open space next to that, you're providing more habitat, both for endangered, threatened, and rare species, and just raccoons, skunks, and deer. I mean, everybody sort of wins out on that.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Did I get the motion to set the public hearing?
Yes.
We already did it, sorry. Okay, then we'll see you in 2 weeks. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. The drama of the opening, of the first application got to me. The next item on the agenda is the shipping, the next item on the agenda is the shipping place.
Mr. Dalbo, would you mind just submitting 2 large copies for the consultants and the planning board, 3 for the planning board
I'll
file?
probably do
Everyone else can have them.
all large copies.
Well, if you want, you can do small. Okay, thank you.
All right.
We've had, the shipping place is moving from Hidden Plaza on 9G over to the new retail units behind Dunkin' Donuts. And we have a sign permit, we have a sign shown, both a wall sign and a sign going into the directory. Both are code compliant. We have a recommendation from Ms. Moss. Anyone have any comments? Who has this file?
That'd be me.
Thank you.
Resolution number 13-35, whereas the applicant, Young Shin Chen, has submitted an application for tenant wall and pylon signs on grid number 6064-04-96772, 3979 Albany Post Road in the Town Center Historic District. And whereas the proposed signage has been reviewed by the zoning administrator and been found to be code compliant, has referred to the application to the board for its recommendation. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board recommends approval of the signs as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? The motion carries. Next to last item on the agenda is Hyde Park Terrace Apartments. We've had this file for the last 2 meetings, and I kept removing it from the agenda because we didn't have quite every question answered. They showed us the sign, which you've all seen, and it's code compliant. What they didn't do was show the location of the lighting. Ms. Moss has now verified that there is no lighting proposed, and that the location is legal. We weren't sure if it was in DOT right-of-way or not, but it's on their own property. So who has this file?
I do. Resolution recommending granting of sign permit, GSP Properties, Hyde Park Terrace Apartments, 3726 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York. Resolution number 13-24, whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board recommends approval of the sign permit for Hyde Park Terrace Apartments.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The last one on the agenda is Bernhard. This is the case where there's a young man, a student, who has spinal bifida and needs a special ramp to leave, to exit and come into his house. I had a lengthy discussion yesterday with the very nice principal of Violet Avenue School, who explained to me that why it's a special ramp. His body needs less handling, as little handling as possible, because he's been going through so many surgeries. So the ZBA has to give a variance before a building permit can be granted because of the ramp is going to be too close to the side, so it needs an area variance. In the interim, Chris Lapine of Chazen Companies has volunteered to work for the Bernhards pro bono. So he kind of is shepherding everything through the ZBA, and he'd like for us to consider doing a special meeting for a site plan waiver so that right the day after the ZBA meeting. This way, they could get their building permit by the next day, Friday. So I'm wondering if there are 4 of us or 4 of you who could meet a week from tomorrow, which would be the 26th, say at 5:30 for a special meeting that would just consider a site plan waiver for the Bernhards. Anybody, is there enough? Or is there
I can meet, that's Thursday, the 26th,
At 5:30?
at 5:30.
I can meet.
I can meet.
I should be able to meet.
Think so.
That's 4 of us?
Thursday I can't.
Okay, there's probably 5 of us, but 4 is all that's required, and I'll send an email to our absent member, Mr. Marsigliano, to see if he's free as well.
Yes.
And Donna will be sending it out.
5:30.
Thursday, the 26th at 5:30. Do we have time to advertise that tomorrow? Is that sufficient time?
Week, yeah. 7 days.
Because it's just a special meeting, right? That's what I thought. Okay. There being no other business, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Media Committee.
Yes, thank you, Media Committee. Before 8, wow.
We started at 6:30.
Did you have the final results?